You're welcome back to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis show. Well, many of you still with questions on the electricity. Samuel Brian Boabing says, how can I overuse a prepaid meter? I just don't understand what is going on. There's a similar message from Osei. He says, okay, how can you owe ECG on prepaid card? He bought 400 CDs worth and he loaded it, and he says he got 332 of that value or what, and that the vendor tells me I was owing. How possible is that? Okay, so he got almost over 60 or 70 Ghana cedis deducted from the 400 that he was purchasing, and he was told that he was owing, and he says he doesn't understand how to owe on a prepaid meter. Well, I suppose some of the explanations that have been given by Ebenezer Bading, the energy economist, should help. Also, this one, Saki, you say there are those who also complain about their meter billing them in the negative when they run out of credits, instead of the meter shutting down when you run out of credit. You are rather billed and presented with a negative balance. Okay, a lot of you have issues with all of these. I'll read a last text message that is coming from Duncan Amwa. You know him with the petroleum sector. He says, after painstaking and extensive consultations with all major stakeholders and the general public, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana has resolved to challenge the outrageously high taxes and levies legally in both the High Court and the Supreme Court first thing on Monday. Those who disagree are sure entitled to their views, but the call of the masses is our call, and core objective is as a civil society organization whose aim is to ensure that Ghanaians get what is fair and right as far as petroleum products are concerned. This indeed is a national call and should be devoid of any MPP, NDC, or whatever partisan discussion. So on Monday, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana is going to court to challenge what it says are the outrageously high taxes and levies that have been imposed. Now, I said we'll deal briefly with how organized labor is going about all of this and then move on to the other issue to discuss. And Solomon Kote is the Secretary General, Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU. Thank you, Mr. Solomon Kote, for joining us on Newsfile, sir.
All right, thank you, and thank you for the privilege and my due regards to your panelists. Enjoy.
Right. Many members of the public are not excited at all about the manner in which you are dealing with authority government as far as your demand for 50% reduction on all of the tariffs is concerned. What do you say to their concerns?
Well, Labour have taken due cognizance of the fact that what has bedeviled the country for now is a direct result of Akosombo's situation as of now. We're all aware Akosombo used to serve the entire country, and with the advent of the shortage of water and all that, the GRA have told us categorically that at the moment it is supplying only 24% of our energy needs. That notwithstanding, government wanting to resolve the problem told all Ghanaians that they want to fix it. They say they don't want to do anything temporary ad hoc matter. That has resulted in the Amera and the Tema plans we have. So obviously we all know using the crude to generate power as against water, the crude is obviously very expensive. So we know we'll not be using the Akosombo cost per kilowatt consumption, but now it's going to be crude per kilowatt consumption. Obviously the prices will not be the same. So Labour, in this view, considered and said, okay, we will expect these price increases because in this country, we could also recollect that for a while now, we have not seen any review because the automatic adjustment formula had actually broken down. This is what made us to say, look, you can increase it, but it shouldn't go beyond 50%.
Okay. Your point is that it can be increased, but not beyond 50%.
Exactly.
And now you have more than 50%, and that's why you organize your people and got on the streets.
Exactly.
And you have come to them that there are signals that you're going to get something. They are not excited about it. Can you tell us what the outcome of the discussion so far have been?
Well, if you care to do in negotiations, because many things can play out. Example is like when one decides to trade off, because we have got almost 3 demands on the table. And once we have treated only one, which of course we have not even finished. It would be unfair ethically for me to begin to throw out things there, because we may get to a point where it's okay, if we are giving up this, then take up that and take up that. That because of that trade-off element, it would be quite premature for Labour to come out now to say exactly what is happening at the table. But the view on the table is that the overtures from both sides is bringing us closer to a conclusion.
Did you say you have 3 demands which have already been acceded to?
No, the issues on the table are 3.
Okay.
One of them is the PURC levels. The second one is the taxes we're talking about, and the third one is the energy levy that has come up.
Right. So as it stands now, you are sure of getting the 50% reduction?
We are positive at the table.
How much have you gotten now?
You can't push me to do that. I've told you we haven't concluded. It's a package you send there. So in conclusion, we may have something very positive for Ghanaians.
Will that include the complete withdrawal of the law that brought in the extra levy?
We haven't. The only thing we've discussed so far is the PURC. So I'm sure as we take on the other elements, the other 2 remaining, we haven't done even the water yet. We've done only the electricity bit of it. So the next meeting, very hopeful we might have a good time and conclude the rest.
As far as the utilities are concerned, it does appear that you are rather doing the PURC job, isn't it?
No, you see, what happened was that
we haven't heard of them. They have gone into hiding since.
Yes, if you recall, we have still met with them, especially when they went and got their levels gazetted and it became law and we started implementing. Then we gave a clarion call. It is at that stage that government quickly said, look, Labour, come, let me take over the issues and let's discuss. So we didn't ask, is government now going to do the PURC job for it? But we know government is answerable at the end of the day.
Okay.
And we've been there and we started the discussions. And government has made it fantastically clear that any reduction now will come from the 67.2 and the 59.2 water electricity respectively shall be a subsidy that government will pay. And the question then arises, which money is government going to use to pay that one?
Quickly, why do you think people are suspicious that leadership of organized labor is getting compromised on this?
We are not getting compromised on this. You see, anytime you enter into negotiations, you don't go into negotiations with total positions. Then there's no need for negotiations. Once one party wants to talk, another party find reason and basis for the discussion, then you can go into negotiations. But if you go in there and say, look, either you give me this or forget about it, then obviously there's no negotiation.
So what was the need? What was the need for the demonstration then? During the demonstration, you made it clear to them that this is what you stood for, 50% or nothing. And yes, that's even before the demonstration. That was your call. And they came out in their numbers to support the demonstration. After the demonstration, now you are saying that we are dialoguing, we are negotiating, and that opportunity window was available before you called the demonstration.
Yes, we called the demonstration at a time that we didn't have any knowledge about the Act 899, okay? And because we didn't have knowledge of it, when we got it and we studied it, we realized that there are some series of tax elements that is going to affect the PURC conclusions, okay? So it was the major reason why we said, look, this one, Labour have been ambushed and that led us in going into the streets. But government kept its stance and said, please, we still want to talk. We still want to talk. So it will be interesting that if we get to those areas in the negotiations, we will obviously be responsible to our general membership who come up and let everybody know how we were able to conclude or why we are not able to conclude.
Okay. Some 30 seconds. How do you reassure your members and all of those who supported the demonstration that you are not being compromised in the process?
Well, it's about negotiations. And in all negotiations, as I've said earlier on, you enter into it. If you don't get all that you want, you make what one would describe as costly compromises, because at the end of the day, we all say Ghana is important to us. And in democratic governance, one of the needs of achieving what you want to have is the open door to have opportunity to go into negotiations. And therefore, as we congratulate all our general membership who poured out to the street and supported a very successful negotiations, we believe that the pressure of that demonstration will have some cursory effect on the table. So we believe as Labour, we have not disappointed our members. Let's see the conclusion before any assessment of either we have over-compromised or have not, or have let them down, or have even met the expectation can actually be assessed. And
the conclusion is expected this week, right?
Yes, we are hoping to get back to the table on Tuesday.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Solomon Kote, for your time.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Solomon Kote is the Secretary General of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, and assuring all of you who are becoming skeptical and running around with all the rumors in town that they're lining their pockets and betraying the trust. He says nothing of the sort is happening. Now, I'll start with you, Bernard, on that very briefly. What do you say? Those who are out there on some platforms, you means and everything else, they seem to have their minds made up that the organized labor leadership has been compromised in this thing.
Well, that is part of leadership. When you are in leadership, you pay some prizes. It's not every decision that you take as a leader that will be popular with the followers. And so when you are in leadership, I think that I like the composure and comportment of Solomon Kote this morning. He's shown that he is worthy of being a union leader. You will be thrown with all manner of mud, even when you genuinely think that the situation that you find yourself deserves some level of understanding. And obviously, Labour also has a point to ensure that, look, the economy does not collapse because of their demands. Because if all of us are complaining, and it is these taxes that will let the economy survive in order that Labour be in employment to continue to be relevant, why do you push yourself to a limit where the economy will become a pariah state and then Labour will become irrelevant? At that point, I think that it allows for some level of reasonability to prevail so that Labour can continue to have an economy, maybe not in the best of shapes, but that economy will be able to anchor the aspirations of the working class in our society or the working people in our society. What I think, I listened to the minister, and then, of course, when they had a meeting, I listened to the minister. I listened to two ministers, I think, Minister for Finance, Minister for Labor Relations, and also the Ghana Association of Ghana Industries Employers Association, of course, the TUC. And I think that they had a solid discussion. My only worry is that the minister is saying that under the circumstances, people are moving from Dunso to Minso, and that the person who coined the Minso, whether jokingly or seriously, government need to find some royalty to pay for the coinage of the word. But I think that more importantly, we need to move away from just over-relying on taxes as a source of revenue to ensuring that we have industry that can expand. And I keep saying that, look, when your manufacturing sector is collapsing, when industry is almost non-existent, when there actually appear to be no processing going on in your economy, state institutions are all being sold out, and then government only rely on royalties and taxes, no country can tax yourself into prosperity. And to that extent, it is important for government to begin to look at some of the decisions they have taken in selling and disposing of state assets that used to generate employment and generate income for the state and also for our nation. If you think that they are not necessary, you train a large chunk of your people, they cannot get employment. The few that get employed are overtaxed. Businesses are collapsing because they cannot survive the taxes that are being imposed, tax in this field, tax in this field. You take the total sum and you realize that some businesses simply will have to fold up.
Okay.
And I think that it is important that Labour is also looking at the situation where, look, companies will fold up if we continue to demand.
Should they accept anything less than the 50% reduction in utilities that they're asking for?
If I listen to the minister, I think that the minister had given a rigid poster. The minister said, look, we are not going to capitulate on the decisions that we have taken. We are going to go on it. The only thing we are going to look up to is what stimulus packages we can put in place in order to attenuate
so I'm
the
asking
increases.
Your opinion. What should they accept?
I think that I've not done the calibrations to be able to determine what is acceptable for Labour, but I think that Labour has been extremely charitable to government, to employers association and what have you, and it is important that all of us will see that Labour has been charitable to government in this particular aspect.
Nana, what should be acceptable for the ordinary government? You say this is unjustifiably high. He says this is the height of insensitivity, yet he doesn't have any specific how much should be reduced. How much should be good?
Thank you. I agree totally with my brother, Mr. Mona, especially when he says that the government is highly insensitive, especially for a government that professes to be a social democratic government. Anywhere in the world, imposition of tariffs of 70% at once will be resisted. Anywhere in the world. Imposition of 70% increases at once will be resisted. It's totally insensitive. And the government is showing that that really is its nature. Now, the union leader, in the first place, it's obvious that the government did not have a consultation with Labour when it was deciding on these huge and insensitive tariffs. I'm hoping that the union leaders, in coming up with
when it comes to deciding the tariffs, we say it is not the government. But now that they have to do something about it, they are approaching the government.
Yes. Now, but the government created PURC.
So
the
obviously
all
it's
the authorities.
Yes, obviously it's the government. There's no debate. I mean, it's the government. So I'm saying that the union leaders, I'm hoping that in coming at some of these percentages that may be acceptable to them, that they are consulting their rank and file regularly. If they are not, the rank and file would definitely be suspicious. Because I can tell you, if, accepting a 50% hike is still outrageous by our standards, because you've given the people 10%. How do you give somebody 10% and impose 50% increases?
Completely eroded.
So unless they are consulting their rank and file regularly and they're able to justify this 50% accommodation, their rank and file will still have problem with what they are doing. So I'm hoping that proper consultation of the rank and file.
From what he says also, he discloses something that they didn't have the full facts initially, and yet they went on a demonstration. It is after the demonstration that they got educated.
What full facts do you need? Because what is happening is that the government of the NDC is passing its inefficiency onto the Ghanaian consumer. All this thing that we're doing, there's only one truth. One truth. It is because of the value of the currency. Because look, 2 years ago, you imposed an 80% rise in the price of electricity. 2 years ago. And you imposed a 60% rise in the price of water. What has happened to those increases? Those increases have been eroded by the inability to maintain the value of the currency. That is the bottom line. The government's inability to maintain the value of the currency. In the last 7 years, the dollar has risen by over 250%. In the last 2 years, the value of the cedi has eroded by over 60%. That is the bottom line. Otherwise, how do you impose on poor consumers an 80% rise in tariff just 2 years ago, and then 2 years after you are imposing another 70? What accounts for that? Because of the loss in the value of the cedi. And you are imposing your inability to maintain the value on the poor innocent Ghanaian. That is the bottom line. So I don't see what briefing is in it. This business about Dumso to Minso, I think it's better as Dumso to Medum. And it rhymes better.
Medum.
Yeah, Medum.
Minso is rather,
No, Minso is too way. Medum
is more romantic.
We send a better message to Mr. Gaga and his colleagues, because these people are totally insensitive. You know, they wouldn't listen to anything. You know.
But you see, again, the question that you raised about someone wanting to pay upfront,
yes,
and business sense in the ECG in accommodating that, and rather, taxing them ahead of that payment is something that I find it difficult to understand.
No, it doesn't make sense.
And I'm getting very credible information that there are some entities that actually have proposed to pay about 3 months in advance and to get a certain rebate. A rebate that should not be less than, the normal treasury bill. And ECG is rejecting that. Meanwhile, ECG has no investment.
And you need money.
Yes.
And so you should be encouraging people to pay more upfront. In fact, like I said, in some services, when you pay more, they give you a discount because of the time value of the money. Now, so you go and pay 200 cedis, and somebody pays 20 cedis, and they punish you who has paid 200 cedis, because by paying 200 cedis, you have deprived yourself of the use of that money. Somebody pays 20 cedis, and they're able to invest 180 cedis in a nice sachet water business. You have given that money to them upfront, and then they punish you. They say, we've increased. And the calibration is done at the discretion of ECG. There's no stakeholder input into that. So they do their calibration, all this thing that my brother here was talking about is calibration. It's all done by ECG. Where is the transparency? Where is the consumer input to know that we are getting value for our money?
Okay, but what do you think? The petroleum Chamber of Petroleum, is looking at a legal action in this regard, and don't you think that they may have a legitimate point when they make to a court that backdating a tariff increase cannot be legal?
Samson, we must all understand the point that the calibration, etc., the backdating allegations are highly technical issues, and I am happy that
His explanation is simply that is how the machine has been made. But the machines ought to be,
made by human beings.
Samson, the point I'm simply trying to make is that these are very technical issues.
But they are programmed by human beings.
The public definitely deserves some detailed explanation. And like he conceded, they ought to have done that even before the introduction of the tariffs. He's conceded, and I think that he was very humble to do so. So let the public have all the details. And
would you encourage them? Would you encourage the ECG to accept the big entities that have money and can afford, who want to pay about 5 months or so in upfront and get a discount of the level of the treasury?
No. Something like he tried to explain. Electricity is a utility. It's not like petroleum, or even if you like water for that matter.
No,
because
I'm looking at ways of investment for the ECG.
Well, we can explore that option, but would need to do a broad-based consultation. But for now, the facts are that electricity is a different utility altogether, and you need to take into account the what goes into generation. Is it hydro? Is it thermal? I mean, not too long ago, we're heavily reliant on hydro for our generation needs. Now we have shifted from hydro to thermal. The cost implications are certainly not the same.
When you have hydro in abundance, you do not have the capacity to store it so that you can use it later. You should be looking at some of these ways, how to store and have cheaper energy, isn't it?
Well, but not until we get there, something, it will be difficult to say those who make upfront payments should enjoy some rebates when adjustments are made. Because of the inability to store what is generated at a given time. So let us face up to that reality and proceed. But Samson, I am perplexed.
At your insensitivity?
Very harsh language has been used. My brother, the chairman, Bernard, I don't know whether he actually used the word justifiably high.
No, he said this is a height of insensitivity.
Yes,
Nana
and he
was rather, moderate.
Moderate.
He said
justifiably high.
But if you ask Nana what the position should be, he cannot even say anything.
Oh, but I have told
sure.
You. No, I have told you that you have 1 second, Minister. I have told you that you have the rate of inflation because there are objective indices that are available. You have the rate of inflation, or they don't count for anything. No, they count for something, and then you have what you pay to workers.
Hold it.
So if you pay 10% to workers, and inflation is 17, if you are going to increase a tariff, you go to maybe 25%. But look at the difference between 17 and 17.
Samson.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Samson. And I am very happy that even before Labour embarked upon the demonstration, they sounded the word of caution to politicians who were bent on cashing in on the situation.
You mean Bernard is cashing in?
No, I'm not talking about Bernard. To score political points. So the TUC itself and Labour clearly warned politicians and that they didn't want them to dilute the essence of the demonstration.
Their members belong to politicians are also part of the Labour.
Now something.
Politicians are part of organized Labour.
Now something. Labour has spoken. Labour has not said that the tariff adjustment is wrong. They are looking at the percentage point of adjustment, the level of adjustment.
All of us, that's what we're doing.
Their argument is that it shouldn't be 50%. But what is the adjustment? It's 59.5.
No, it's up to 100.
In some instances.
We're talking about the average here. So it will be unfair to say it is 100 because that may not be the case across board.
That's a reality for some people.
No, that may not be the case across board. So let's talk in average terms.
Please finish.
So Samson, they have made the point that 50%. Now, but the implications are that if we accept the 50%, because independent, for instance, power purchasers have already been communicated to, and they have started working around the adjustments that have been announced so far. You are talking about a 50%, then it would mean that we would have to subsidize. We would have to subsidize. For instance, if they were to reduce from 59 to even 54%, you have about 350 million deficit, and government would have to look for that money to pay to ensure that the utilities do not collapse.
But if government doesn't have it, how do you assume the ordinary consumer has it?
No, Samson, please, let me make my point. If it comes down to even 52%, government would have to look for 500 million. These are the implications. We're saying that in the face of...
Are you suggesting organized labor should not expect...
No, that is not the point I'm making. No. I'm only explaining the implications of a reduction.
For government?
Yes, that's right.
For the ordinary worker?
Please, I'm coming to that.
You have to be on the side of the ordinary
I'm coming to that. Stop heckling me.
You give him 10%. Why is he going to find that money?
Why? Stop heckling me.
Please allow him.
Let me make my point. So, Samson, these are the facts, but I am very happy that Labour is saying that, look, they have recognized the fact that reason ought to prevail in these matters. Because why? We are moving away from hydro generation to thermal, and crude oil to power thermal plants. It is very expensive. Okay. How do you raise money to do it? We've brought in the car power badge, we've brought in the Ameri,
and Ameri too is there,
etc. People have experimented with what? Generating power through generators. And you know how expensive it is. It is not any different. I mean, to power those thermal plants that we've brought in, Now, why are we moving away from hydropower generation? Climatic change. Akosombo is running on 3 turbines. It ought to be running on 6. These are the realities on the ground. And so when we are running commentary on tariff adjustments, we should be frank enough and open and sincere to tell Ghanaians that times have changed. Climatic changes. I come from the Upper East region. For a long time, the Tono irrigation project, farmers couldn't farm in the dry season. No water in the reservoir. You see? So is that one too government's making? Certainly not. Climate has changed. The Burkinabés have also decided to construct a bagre. You can't stop them.
But
so
what do you do?
What do you do in the circumstances? You have to find
your own
some
dams.
alternatives to what is in existence, the hydro that we have been used to for so many years.
Okay.
But so we've done the investment, the time has come.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It is wrong for us to use words like adjusted
for those of you
high.
who missed in the course of the week what the Labour Minister had to say after the meetings, we just want you to listen to what the Labour Minister, Haruna Idrisu, had to say, and then we'll take a quick break. We'll return to deal with the Gitmo 2 and questions of reshuffle. So let's take a listen to what Haruna Idrisu had to say after the meetings.
We have come to an end to today's proceedings on the negotiations between the government team and that of Organised Labour and the AGI and other interested parties. And I'm happy to convey to you that there is some progress, and we are hopeful that in the early part of next week we should be able to build consensus with Organised Labour on the resolution of this matter. But the government team have made a commitment in principle to Organised Labour, consistent with the NDC social democratic philosophy, provide some further release to the vulnerable under the lifeline band protection in respect of water and electricity. And we share some more detail if Organised Labour is also able to adjust their position from the previous request for 50%, at which negotiations have remained since then. So we thank you for coming, and calling the meeting is accordingly adjourned. Maybe I'll allow Secretary General to respond to my comment. We'll meet again on Tuesday at 2 p.m.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show, brought to you by Bank of Africa. As always, Bank of Africa now is introducing to you the Season of Giving promo, and started on the 31st of January. All you have to do to deposit at least 300 Ghana cedis into your savings or current account, maintain or build up your deposit until end of the promo, and you win. What's amazing about this is that you automatically win. There are no draws. Everyone wins. You're going to win cars, smartphones, TVs, fridges, and many more. Remember, the more you top up, the bigger your prize. Visit any Bank of Africa branch to participate. Bank of Africa strong as a group and close as a partner. And the MTN Season of Surprises is back and on. Get spoiled for choice this even after the Christmas with amazing giveaways from up to 20% discount on your Emirate tickets, free airtime, free data, free smartphones, free power banks, free shopping vouchers, free MTN event tickets, souvenirs, and so much more. In addition, send money from your wallet to the wallet of your family and friends on MTN Mobile Money, or receive money from abroad on MTN Mobile Money and enjoy 50 minutes worth of talk time and 150 megabytes of data. Postpaid customers will also enjoy 300 megabytes of data. So go on, just keep your MTN number active and be part of the exciting promo that we're talking about, the promo of Season of Surprises from MTN. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome to the new world. MTN, everywhere you go. Thank you. Now, let's begin to see how we deal with the other issues that have come up in the course of the week. Nana Akufo-Addo